And boom, we are live. All right. I assume people will see that we were live and they will start trickling in. As a matter of fact, if you want to, hang on. Um, I think if you take this link at the top and you post it in, you can post it onto your Facebook and let the people come in. But one of the things too about this that I like is that people can come back after the fact and check it out. One of the comments that I got was, "I love the conversation you guys had, but why'd you do it so late?" And I was like, you know what? Between our two schedules, that's just how it ended up working out.
Yeah.
And that's how. But I appreciate the good conversation piece to it. Um, so yeah, if you want to, if you want me to give you a second while you drop that in,
I can just copy the link, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just go ahead and do that.
Let me do that now.
You do that right now. I see we have somebody's come is checking this out. If you are brave enough to tell us who you are right now, we might reward you with a prize. There's no guarantees, but we might. But thank you for joining us nonetheless. We appreciate it. Now, assuming you can multitask, Derek, did you have like a bunch of people that you watched the show with?
You know, I was kind of a loner, and I watched
Okay.
it. I watched it with my cats.
Okay.
So
Nothing
yeah,
wrong with that.
I didn't do any Oscar party. Unfortunately, I was all by myself. My girlfriend doesn't, get into the film thing as much as I do.
Okay.
So it was just me live tweeting, live streaming, live updating on my own.
Nice.
So yeah, no, I was not sharing the love with anybody else.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We've all had times like that. Jason coming into the stream. Jason, hi. Thank you so much for joining us. He is in Ottawa like myself. Well, he might be in Ottawa. He's a bit of a world traveler, this guy, but coming up on 1:45 here. Some introductions. We are looking at Derek Murray, who, of course, is the film critic for NerdBot. My name is Keith Whittier. I am the movie reviewer for Ottawa Life magazine. We are doing a chat talking about the Academy Awards that just went down, the 96th Academy Awards, of course, and it was a very interesting show. I will start off by saying, before we even get to the awards, from a show perspective, for me, it was a little uneven in the sense of, for us, it started late. I think it did for you as well. It just seemed weird because for the first few minutes, it was just commercials. And then we go into the show, and Kimmel was the pick for host, and it's safe, right? It's like, you know what you're getting with Kimmel. I don't like the analogy, but it's like going back to your ex. It's one of those types of situations.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're dealing with. You know how they make the toast, all that sort of stuff. I think his monologues have been better. I found it was it wasn't great. I don't think it's going to get the Joe Coy treatment, but like even the Robert Downey joke about, being high and what have you, could tell Downey Jr. wasn't having any of that. It was just a little uneven. But moving on from the monologue, while there were some nice moments, I like bringing out the former winners to present, and in some instances that worked. Like with Best Supporting Actress, I felt that was very supportive, and Best Supporting Actor, I didn't think that it worked as well. But I guess a couple of things, takeaways for me other than that. The In Memoriam, I'm all cool with Bocelli and his son singing, but have the names of the deceased in a way that people can read it, because I felt at one point we were like with the audience, and we were, they kind of put the camera in that view, and we couldn't exactly see, the names. And I think that's disrespectful. Yeah. I'm glad they've done away with the cheering, because there used to be, they'd put the names up and you cheer, and it'd be like, oh, it became a popularity contest, which wasn't cool. So I like that they hold the applause till the end. Yeah. But I didn't like the distance there. Now, I'm never one that's going to complain about a long show. And this was a short show, all right, overall compared to others. Here's my biggest frustration. A lot of the people that were on the stage today that won awards are not going to be on the stage again. They're just not going to be. And I don't like the fact that we rush speeches. I understand that sometimes, it's before it was okay, well, the show's running long. You've got a short show, right? So that's not the issue. And yes, I get it that they're going to take more time for a best actress or a best actor speech as opposed to live action short. I get it. But at the same token, for me, if this is truly a celebration of the awards, we need to give those people time to say some things. So sometimes you'd have two people come up, one person says something, and then they play off the second person. The Billie Eilish and I guess her brother had it right. They just kept talking over each other. They've probably done it at the dinner table enough. And then it was like, oh, where do we cut? Oh, we can't cut because they just keep on talking, So kudos to them. But those were like off the top of my head, some of the things that I felt in regards to just the show part. How about yourself?
Yeah. So overall, I genuinely enjoyed Jimmy Kimmel's monologue. I think it ran a little long. I know that some of the jokes felt a little like low hanging fruit, and I get it. It's very repetitive to make jokes at the actor's expense, at the industry's expense. But at the end of the day, like, we're literally watching a co-workers award show. Like, this is no different than like your own company sponsoring their show and doing employee of the month. And like, that's essentially what the Oscars are. They're just on a much larger stage. So the kind of insider banter, to me, it doesn't bother me. I think that Jimmy Kimmel is very much the safest choice. I think he does a pretty good job in kind of just walking up to the line, putting a foot on it, and then kind of taking it back, which truthfully, that's kind of what they needed. And that's kind of what the Oscars are going for. So overall, I thought the opening monologue was great. It didn't bother me. I was perfectly fine with it. I do think the RDJ jokes ran a little long. The first punchline that he landed about this is the highest award you've ever had. Well, actually, no, that was good. If he'd have just stopped there and didn't move forward and like do the weird like rectangular penis joke, I was so like, okay, dude, why are we diving into this? Like, just leave it at where it is. This is a great setup. Move on, right? So there's definitely some of that. I am staunchly against the way that they did the Actors Awards. I think it's great to have all of those wonderful people on stage say nice words, but just show the actor clips. Like, just show the actor clips. That's what we came here for. We want to see the work that they've done. We want to see that highlighted. We want to see the examples of why they were nominated. That's more important than previous winners saying why they liked the current nominees. So for me, at first I was like, they're not going to do this for every single one. And then they did it for every single one. And I was like, I thought we were trying to have a short show. Like, why are we dragging this out? This is taking way too long. Give me 15 seconds of the best work that they did in the film they're nominated for. And that's where we need to sit. Like, that's where we need to land. So I didn't like that production part of it. I think overall, though, it was a pretty quick show. I think they moved things along very quickly. And I do think that if they'd have just stuck with the actor clips, they probably could have done the thing that you're talking about, right? They could have let people speak. And really, and again, we talked about this on the pre-show. Like, for me, we're here for the cinema. We're here for the celebration of the movies. So I don't need you to I don't need you to get over sentimental about the things. Like, show me the actor clips, show me the speeches, give me the things that really resonate with what's happening now. That's what I want. I do think that this is one of the better productions of the Oscars. And I think that they didn't like dilly-dally a lot with a lot of stupid bits. I know there were some that were a little long, but overall, they kind of just breezed through them and they just got to the awards. And that's what we want. Speed that shit up. Like, that's what we need. So I did like that part. So yeah, I think overall, I think the production was good. I don't like the way that they did the actors thing. I think Jimmy Kimmel is probably the safest bet you can make when you need to have a good, safe, controversy-free award show. Jimmy Kimmel is the way to go. Like, that's what you need. So yeah, overall I had a good time with it. I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah. They are the Robert Downey Jr. one did go a little long. I think when I look at those types of situations, I look what's the reaction, because I mean, we're gonna get I think most people by now understand the Will Smith reaction is like the outlier, like that doesn't usually happen. So when you're
Yes.
seeing him and he's kind of like, even he's like, okay, let's move it along, and he's staying with it. To me, it's like, okay, that's not working. But again, I stand by, this would not rank high in my Jimmy Kimmel list of 4 monologues at all. Wasn't terrible, but definitely not the best. Here's where I need to let the good people who are tuning into this know. This is how you know we don't talk about anything we're going to say beforehand. It's just kind of like, hey, you want to talk about it? Yeah, let's get on. I'll throw on the camera. We'll have a chat. I'm going to tell you why I like the way they did the presentations. So we've just come to the end of what is known as award season. So that means Golden Globes, that means Critics' Choice, that means Screen Actors Guild, and a whole bunch of other Independent Spirit, a whole bunch of other award shows that we've seen. So we've seen the clips at all of those, right? So the hope would be that the people would know what they're being nominated for and be familiar with the work. The only reason that I like the way that they did the presentation is I think it's really wonderful to see, being presented by your peers. I think that's nice. However, that all being said, you want to make sure that you've got the right presenters there. And I don't necessarily think that they did. In some instances they did, and some they didn't. Some of them looked like they were hitting the sauce a little too much. Some of them were staring hardcore into that teleprompter. Here is my thing. If you're going up to somebody and you're telling them how heartfelt their performance was to you, why do you need to read that? It made it insincere. So the way they did it, the concept of doing it, I should say, I'm not against. The way they did it didn't come off well because it didn't seem sincere. Because if you're telling somebody how great they are, you shouldn't need a script to do that. That's just my thought.
I do agree. I think there was some genuine tonal imbalance when it came to the people that they selected, right? Because you had some that felt truly authentic. Like you had some people that were like genuinely like, hey, I loved what you did and this is how your performance affected me. And then you had others that were like, I've never worked with you. I honestly have no idea who you are, but this is what the teleprompter is telling me.
What they're telling me.
Yeah. So I think you're right. If you're going to do that, then make sure that the people that you select are truly affected by the nominees that you have, and they can say genuine things about the performance. And then I think it would be a little bit more impactful. But I'm just such a sucker for Oscar clips like that. I know I've seen all the movies and I know what all of them are. But I love the Oscar bait clips. I live for that. So.
No, that's fair.
Maybe there's a way to blend them together. Like maybe there's a way to do them both. But yeah, I agree that the tonal imbalance is very much there, where it was like, do you even know who you're talking about? Like,
right?
Like Tim Robbins literally has never met anybody that's been nominated for these awards. Like he clearly had no idea of who he was talking about.
Right. So yeah. All right. So that's our take on like the show itself. Let's get into the awards. I guess what I'd like to ask you is what are some of the awards that you were really happy about? And was there anything, I'm going to ask the Joe Rogan post UFC question. Is there anything that surprised you? Because I know there were a couple of big surprises for myself, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So I went 20 for 23 tonight.
Okay.
Which was, I was really happy about that. I do feel I should have gone 22 for 23 because I missed Best Actress and I missed Best Animated Feature. I picked Lily Gladstone, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a different segment than right here. And I missed, I did not peg The Boy and the Heron beating Spider-Man across
you had Last Repair Shop?
I did. Yeah.
Nice. Look at you, you ninja. Amazing. Okay.
I know. I was on fire tonight, man. Minus those two or three misses. Like I was good. I was on it. So overall, I don't think there were a lot of surprises. I do think Barbie basically blanking. I was actually pretty surprised about that. I thought there were some kind of technical awards that they probably could have won. I didn't pick them, obviously, since like I got the wins. But things like production design, costume, like I really thought I didn't pick them to win, but I thought, hey, you know what? These should probably go to Barbie. Like, if they're not going to get above the line categories, they should get technical categories because on a technical level, like it's a pretty big achievement. Like they did a really great job in production design, in costume, and all in hell, even cinematography. Even though I know they weren't going to win, so Barbie just kind of going 1 for 10 was pretty surprising. And I actually think the strength of Poor Things. I think Poor Things landed 4 out of like 9 or whatever they were nominated for. And while I did pick them to win, I wasn't confident about those picks. So I was genuinely surprised that they did pretty strong in some of those below the line categories that I thought Oppenheimer would actually probably end up winning. And they managed to do it. I was very excited for Justine Triet for taking original screenplay. As much as I loved May December, I had pegged her to win. She was the lone winner there. And I was really, really shocked that it actually paid off. So I was very glad to see that. And then honestly, the biggest surprise is just Emma Stone winning over Lily Gladstone. That to me just they had the opportunity. We talked about it too. And they had the chance. They had the chance to do right. And look, if she's going to lose to anybody, it should be Emma Stone. But come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this? What is this?
All right. So we're going to get to that in just a few short minutes. Talking about my ups and downs. Thrilled to see Zone of Interest get 2. International feature or international film, I should say. It wasn't a surprise. It was expected to win. I'm thrilled that it did. I'm glad that my favorite movie of the year is now, I can now refer to it as, you mean Academy Award winning is The Zone of Interest? Yeah. So I'm happy about that.
When it won sound, I thought of you immediately. Yeah. I was like, Keith is dancing. He's
100%
right now.
100%. I was putting those BTS dance class moves to good use. let me, and that's a true thing. We'll talk about that off camera. But let me tell you this. Here's the deal. Going into it, I thought that, and I said in my article, I said something to the effect of Oppenheimer for sound, but I want it to be, or it should be, The Zone of Interest. I was thrilled that it won because I've been going on and on about the sound is its own character in the film. There's the 2 movies that you see, the one that you see, the one that you hear. So I'm thrilled that won. I expected it to win 1 award. It doubled my expectations, so that was great. You talked about Justine Triet, which I was also thrilled for. So I'll take the other one. I'll take the gentleman who won for adapted screenplay in Cord Jefferson. To be at the world premiere of American Fiction at the Toronto International Film Festival and see a gentleman on stage taking in all of the applause from that TIFF audience with his, by the way, first movie, and then see that journey go to and culminate with him on the Oscar stage was phenomenal. I was so excited for him. I loved his speech as well. And I think that obviously this is going to help open up a lot of doors for him, but what a phenomenal story. And a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with it because this awards season has been overshadowed by a couple of big name movies that aren't American Fiction, but it's a fantastic movie. Congratulations to him on winning that.
I just want to say, I'm completely with you on that. I think his win, his speech, what it means, everything he said, all of that is just so important. I was there for the premiere as well. And I not to drone on too long, like a speech at the Oscars. But it was a movie at TIFF that I was planning to skip because I had tickets for it. I had tickets for the premiere, and I was just on a run, and I was so tired, and coffee wasn't doing it for me. And I was like, this movie's going to be so boring. I don't want to see it. I don't know anything about it. I should just go back to my room and sleep. And my friend skipped it because he was going to do an interview. And he was like, hey, I have a really good seat. Just use my seat. Just go to this premiere. And I was so glad that I went, because not only was the film incredible, but being able to see Cord Jefferson talk about the film, and really just go through that whole experience of his first time. I've been championing this movie for a while, so seeing it come to fruition, seeing his speech, his whole like no $200, no 200 million, make 10, 20 million, like just incredible, just absolutely incredible. So I want to echo those compliments to that win, because it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. Now it's interesting for that film at TIFF. I wasn't able to go to the press screening because it didn't fit in with my schedule. So I was at another screening, I think for Boy Kills World, and I was sitting beside somebody who worked. Yeah. I was sitting beside somebody who works for one of the major broadcasters here in Canada, and she had a conflict, and she's like, "Do you want my ticket?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So I need to send her a text tomorrow thanking her for that, because I'm thrilled that I was able to be there for the for the premiere. I'm thrilled that Godzilla -1 won. We've had like how many Godzilla movies over the years, and now we finally have one that is an Oscar winner. And it was a great movie. Like we've got this. I mean, we talked about this. We've got some Godzilla movie coming out in a little while. No, Godzilla -1. That's the show.
My girlfriend, because she's a diehard kaiju fan, and I'm just not. I don't care for kaiju movies. Just overall, Godzilla is not my thing. And so she was like resenting the fact of how championing I was for Godzilla -1, because she was like, I thought this was my thing. This is my cool thing, and now you're like in on it. And I was like, well, let's slow down. I'm in on this movie. The rest of them can suffer. I don't care.
You can have those.
You can have those. I loved this one, but that was a great win. I had picked it to win, but I was very unsure. It was like a really shaky, like, this is a gut pick, this is a vibe pick, and I was so glad that it won. That was huge win for me. Huge win.
Nice. Thrilled to see Nolan win for Oppenheimer. Of course, he won Best Director, Best Picture. We discussed our feelings about that, but again, it does feel right that he does have an Oscar now on his mantle as well deserved. Okay, let's get to Emma Stone. So going into this, we had both her and Lily Gladstone won Golden Globe Awards, and that's just the nature of it, because we've got the drama, we've got the comedy, and then we go through the Critics' Choice, the Screen Actors Guild. We both felt that Lily Gladstone was going to be the recipient of this, and it goes to Emma Stone. Now, I want to be clear, in my view, I think it was a daring role for her to take on. I think it shows a lot of trust between her and Yorgos Lanthimos. I don't divert from what I've said previously. It is softcore porn, 100%. But there's a lot more to it than that. It is shocking. It is not going to be for everybody, and it's one of those things where I really felt that Lily Gladstone was going to win, and I'm sorry for her that she didn't. I was thinking about when Denzel Washington won for Training Day. People were thrilled, and they were, elated. Finally, this great actor had won his lead actor trophy. But you can't tell me that he wouldn't have been thrilled to have won it for a bunch of other roles, but specifically for Malcolm X and what that represents to the community. That being said, Lily Gladstone could definitely go on and win an Academy Award down the line, but it would have been so phenomenal for her to have become the first Native American to win an acting Oscar for this portrayal. So that's why I think it's a little extra disappointing. Again, not taking anything away from Emma Stone, but I'll tell you this, because I think I've been having so many conversations. I think we were talking about how the other day you were mentioning about how the Academy loves Emma Stone, and that it kind of reminds me of that film by David Lynch with Mulholland Drive. And it's like, she is that girl, right? So she has now become that girl with the Academy. Do I think their performances were both great? Absolutely. It was somewhat of a murderer's row between the two of them and Sandra Hüller, who I still at this moment feel should be the recipient of that trophy. So I'm not putting my head on my pillow disappointed that Emma Stone won, but it was a bit of a shock. And it's also disappointing in the sense that they had an opportunity to make history. And let me be abundantly clear. This isn't in terms of, oh, well, they should just give it to Lily Gladstone because she's Native American. No, they should get it. Would have been, she fully would have earned it because it was an incredible performance. Let's be clear. A movie directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, who, by the way, has been absent this whole award season, and Robert De Niro, and the name that everyone has been talking about since Jump Street, is Lily Gladstone. So that's my thoughts on that. Congratulations to Emma Stone. I don't know how many people are going to run out and see Poor Things and know what they're getting themselves in for. It is a very good movie, but it's Yorgos Lanthimos to the extreme, which means it is not cookie cutter. It is not going to be for everyone. My friend was telling me he went and saw it with his mom, made for an awkward encounter, but nonetheless, I mean, it is a really good movie, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that it isn't, but
I would echo most of those sentiments. I was pulling for Lily Gladstone. I knew that this was always a 2-horse race. We had talked about it on our preview show. That it's really between Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. That was what we were kind of pitting against. And I think for me, I really wanted this for Lily Gladstone. And you would mention that, like, hey, she can win an Oscar in the future, but I fear that this will discourage her from continuing to move forward. And I genuinely fear that we are going to be robbed of an incredible performer. Because she made it all the way to almost the peak of the mountain and didn't quite get there. And now, and we see this a lot, right? We see winners and almost winners, people that are like really prominent in the award season. Their next few projects tend to be pretty shit. And unless you already have like a long line of award-worthy work, you kind of just disappear into the ether. The person that I think of quickly, it would be like Cuba Gooding Jr., where it's like this dude won Best Supporting Actor, and then you never heard anything major from him again. Like he never showed up at an award show. Even in the smaller precursors, he was just ignored. And then he kind of just delves into the depths of Hollywood at that point. And obviously there's some other things going on there, but you do see this a lot, and I don't want that for her. I fear that we are going to be just genuinely robbed of just an incredible performer, of someone who, like you said, is starring in a movie directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, starring Robert De Niro, starring literally a murderer's row of people that you would recognize. And she's the person we're talking about. Like, that is a performance of a lifetime, and not awarding it, it just... I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. But here's what I will say. And I want to caution everybody on this as well. Please do not run Emma Stone through the mud for something she didn't do. Emma Stone turned in an incredible performance. And if Lily Gladstone was going to lose, it really should be to Emma Stone. On that list, there's nobody else that she should have lost to. So for me personally, I know I saw the zone of interest in your eyes. That's
no. We're talking because it would have been lead, so it would have been Anatomy of a Fall with Sandra Hüller.
Yeah. I know. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I
hear what you're saying, though. I hear what you're saying.
My caution is, I know that gut instinct is to just start going after Emma Stone, and like, she didn't vote for herself, guys. Like. Yes, she campaigned. Yes, she wanted it. Like, whatever. But like, she's not voting the ballots. Like, she's not doing the thing that like made her win. So you can be mad about it. You can want Lily Gladstone to win. You can whatever discussion you want to have about it, whether it's the racism of the Academy, the diversity, whatever. Like, all of those are completely valid. But I need you guys to leave Emma Stone's name out of your mouth, because it's not her fault. I know that's like, and I hate to have to say that, but like, I know that's the gut instinct, right? Like,
I hear those words and I'm just like, am I bracing for a slap? But okay, yeah.
I know. But the gut instinct is to start getting mad at Emma Stone for winning an award.
No.
And that's not the right take. Like, you can be mad that she won the award, but don't be mad at her because she won the award. Like, she did a great performance. It's not her fault that she got voted in over Lily Gladstone. So I just want to make sure we're mad about the right things. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I was disappointed, like many were, when the Shawshank Redemption lost Best Picture to Forrest
Yes.
Gump. But that didn't mean I walked around knocking boxes of chocolates out of people's hands. So I get it.
No,
I mean,
which you should, but
yeah.
still.
But her, like, again, her performance, like I said, if you're asking me to describe Emma Stone's performance in one word, it's fearless, because there's so many people who would not have taken on that role just in fear of what it could do to their career and things of that nature. And she literally and figuratively puts herself out there. So it's not like it came out of left field, like, oh, how did she win? You know, respectfully, if they'd called Annette Bening's name, that would have been a head scratch.
I would have that would have been it. I'd have turned it off. I'd have quit as a critic. Like,
yeah. Like, this isn't a head scratch moment. We had, I will say, 3 exceptional performances in that category.
Yes.
The collective, you and I, thought it was going to go one way. It went a completely different way. And to your point, you know, the hope is that, you know, that Lily's not done with acting. And I mean, I definitely hope that that's not the case. I mean, it's interesting because I was thinking, okay, what am I more disappointed in terms of Lily Gladstone not winning or Paul Giamatti not winning? Because I was a little disappointed there as well. Cillian Murphy had a great performance as well, but going into it, my feeling was that I knew it was a long shot. I picked Cillian Murphy in my my prediction. Would have loved to have seen Giamatti win, but that's how it goes. I will say this. Obviously, the Oscars are you know, to people like us, it's a celebration of film. But it's interesting in terms of Killers of the Flower Moon, nothing. One of your favorite films, Maestro, nothing. But I say that facetiously for anybody who saw the pre-show who's not a fan. But how about this one, Past Lives? I want to talk about this one for a moment. Here is a movie that, when you look at the collective top 10 lists from, you know, respected outlets, it was consistently ranking 1, 2, or 3 in top 10 films of 2023. Not one Oscar win. That seems weird to me, right?
Yeah.
I get it. We see how the category is laid out, but sometimes you think to yourself, okay, is this really a representation of the year in film? And I'm not saying that these Oscars weren't. There were fantastic films, documentaries, shorts that were awarded, but it does feel a little weird where one of the most, you know, acclaimed films of the year doesn't touch the Oscar stage. It did extremely well at the Independent, you know, Spirit Awards.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that independent film doesn't have a place for the Oscars, because Coda just won Best Picture a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So I am a little sad for Past Lives in that regard.
Yeah, I kind of always knew that Past Lives probably wouldn't make it to the finish line. I mean, the fact that it even made it to the nominations, we talked about this on our pre-show.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it even made it to the nomination ballot is just, that's a win in and of itself for such a small film that premiered at Sundance. Like, films, I can't express this enough, guys. Films that debut in January do not make it to March in the Academy Awards. Like,
the following March.
Yeah. The following March. Like, that is not something that happens. That is an anomaly in and of itself. So, you know, just the fact that it was nominated, that's incredible. But I do agree. I think, you know, I do feel like if something like Past Lives had showed up this year, I actually think it probably would have done better. And I don't know what's on the docket for the most part, like, you know, down the line. But given the first 3 months of this year, the movies seem a little worse for wear when it comes to comparing to like by this point last year, we already had some clear contenders that literally made it all the way to the end, and I just don't see it this year. So there's some, like, you know, scheduling and things like that, but it is an achievement for it to make it that far. I do think that overall the films that were the best, for the most part, landed in most categories. I have some favorites that were missing, but at the same time, like, I love just the fact that things like American Fiction were even nominated. Like, yes, it won, but like, just giving it the nod. Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest, like, these movies that are typically pretty polarizing, and I don't think everybody got a chance to see. Hell, even Poor Things, which, like you said, is kind of softcore porn. Like,
am I wrong though?
You're not, though. You're not at all. Well, it's tasteful softcore porn, but yes, there's a lot of furious jumping that happens in this movie. But weird films made it all the way to the end, and that's a big deal for this Oscar ballot.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, Coda was one of these rare exceptions that debuted at Sundance and then made it all the way to the Oscars the following year. But that is very rare. And you talk about this year so far. Hey, listen, The Beekeeper is my guilty pleasure. I've laid that out, but I don't expect. I don't.
I love it.
Right? I don't expect The Beekeeper to win Best Picture. Dune. I had said to a friend, I think, with Dune coming out as early as it is, I don't think it's going to be in the conversation. I definitely think it will be for some technical awards. I have a hard time seeing 10 movies that are better than Dune from a Best Picture perspective, but we'll definitely see how that plays out. All right. I want to get into some of the comments here, and we really appreciate you all taking the time to join. Shara Bear says hi. Hi, Shara Bear. We've got Jason who says, I enjoyed the Oscars tonight. I was surprised about Emma Stone, but looking forward to watching the film. Excellent. Yeah, like I said, definitely go and check out the film. It's a solid movie. Just don't watch it with young children. All right. Matt's back. Come on. This is amazing. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate you. The reason that Matt gets so much love is because he was our constant, our constant during our preview show. So we're glad to have him back. Honestly, glad there was a bit of a surprise in one of the bigger categories. He's not wrong. It's in terms of it gets to the point where sometimes it's so predictable. And this is one that now we've got something to talk about, at the water cooler. My take, much of the Academy voters are made of actors. They loved the showiness of Emma Stone's performance. I'm sure many of them knew that Gladstone would be a historical vote, but assumed that others would vote for Gladstone, so they felt safe to vote for Stone, not realizing that everyone else was thinking the same thing. That's a bit of a surprise there. Yeah.
Look, here's the thing: is he's not entirely wrong, because I not to get too into it, but like the Academy is not the Illuminati, so every branch votes for their individual awards. So like the director's branch votes for the directors. The actors branch votes for the actors. It's not a bunch of stuff. Yes, it still is kind of stuffy old white men, but like that's not the totality of it. It's not like 9 dudes in a room that have never watched any of the movies and then they just select the ones that they think should win. Like I know that's how we kind of think of it. But that's not how it really works. And they also do ranked choice voting. And what that does is it probably ranks Lily Gladstone incredibly high on most ballots. But what it means is she probably got like 80% second choice, and or she could have split the vote where it was like 50% gave her gave her number 1, 50% gave her number 2, and then the way that it all kind of balanced out, like Emma Stone wins by 51%. Like that's the ranked choice voting of how it works, and it's that specific branch. So I would imagine it was probably closer than what people are thinking, and the way that Matt kind of described it, where it's like everybody thought, oh yeah, we're gonna give it to Lily, so we should nominate Emma. Yeah, that probably happened. Like that's actually probably how that worked out.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Steve Hennessy. Hi, Steve. Thank you for joining with a trifecta of comments. Zone of Interest, or as I like to call it, Academy Award-winning The Zone of Interest. My favorite movie, if you didn't know.
You're so excited to say that. I know.
I really am. Powerful and amazing. More people need to see this movie. Steve Hennessy, you are a very smart man. Past Lives, the ending was a summation of a beautifully written movie. Absolutely. You're 100% accurate there. It's interesting as I was looking at the show and I was thinking about Colman Domingo. If there's one person I think that could very well be a nominee next year from an acting perspective that's there this year, I think it could be Colman Domingo with Sing Sing. So let's go. Yeah.
Let's
So
go.
we'll
Most people thought Sing Sing was significantly better. I mean, most people called it a better movie because
yeah.
Rustin wasn't that great of a film, but like,
Mhm.
you know,
His performance
he's
was.
cooking in that movie. Like he is
Yeah.
just transcendent. And most people have said, "Hey, Sing Sing is a movie that matches his transcendence." And this is the film that like he should absolutely get nominated for and probably win. So
Yeah, it's so interesting because the first time I recall seeing him like in a major, film was Zola. I'm sure I could probably check IMDb and be like, oh, he was in this, that, and the other thing. But I
yeah,
just, in terms of like a strong performance, menacing in Zola. Then you see him in The Color Purple and still somewhat menacing. You see him in Drive Away Dolls, and he's not menacing, but he's the bad guy, but a different, kind of a more of a undertone villain in that film. And then you
he's
see
so
him at
weird in that
every
movie.
but then you see him at like every single award show and what have you. And I haven't seen like a lot of interviews with him, and he seems like the chillest guy. It's like somebody you want to sit down and have a drink with. He seems like such a nice guy, right? And obviously I get he's not menacing because he's playing a villain. I don't expect if I was ever to meet Robert De Niro, he'd be his character from Cape Fear. I get it, but what I'm saying is that I think I think he is just such an incredible actor that is
Yes.
so under the radar, even with his Oscar nomination.
He
And
is
I'm
he
excited.
he
I'm
is
excited to see what he does.
I am too, and he's kind of the definition of the actor's actor,
Yeah.
where everybody in the industry knows Coleman Domingo. Like
Hmm.
they all know him, they love him, they respect him, they want to work with him, but he hasn't had like that breakout role where it's like general audiences embrace him as a movie star. Like he's not a movie star, he's an actor's actor. Like
Yeah.
that's who he is. And I hope he gets his flowers. I really hope that he shows up on the ballot next year. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah, a couple of words we haven't spoken about as yet. Congratulations to we talked about him in the monologue, but Robert Downey Jr., of course, no surprise, winning Best Supporting Actor. Congratulations to him. That was nice to see. Also, thrilled for Divine Joy Randolph,
Oh,
and a beautiful, beautiful acceptance speech.
what
So
a
that
way to
was
start the show.
right.
Like,
That was a really, really touching moment.
yeah.
Um, I will say, okay, we both had we both missed out on animated film. Now you got a couple wrong. I got a couple more wrong than you did, but because I live in a political town, the way I'm going to position it when people ask me, I got 8 out of the 9 major awards
Okay,
correct.
good.
It is
Good.
also,
That's strong.
it's how you
That's
present
strong.
it. 8 out of 9. That's a good number. I'm not, but actually it was 17 and a half. And I'm counting my sound, was zone of interest as to half. There were a lot of the different awards where it was kind of like Poor Things Barbie, and that's what got me. But specific to Boy and the Heron. Okay.
Mm.
So Boy and the Heron's a decent movie. I know that Miyazaki is an extremely respected filmmaker. This is the opening night film at the Toronto International Film Festival. There was talk about, he came out of retirement to make this movie. This is his view upon the world. And it was this big thing. And it's sold out everywhere. People were excited about it. Movie for movie, I still sit here. Like my opinion doesn't change because a movie won an Oscar. I still sit here and like Across the Spider-Verse, I thought was the best animated film. But then I think to myself, a lot of people like the Lord of the Rings movies, and it never won Best Picture until the last one because we knew the last one was coming. Dune didn't have a Best Director nomination. It didn't win Best Picture. We knew a sequel was coming. So I wonder if it was the mentality of, well, we know we're getting another Spider-Man across the universe type film, and we want to recognize this filmmaker, but also because we were messaging each other. There is a TIFF effect, right? So it's like there was so much hype around The Boy and the Heron, which again, kind of like Emma Stone, not saying it's not a great movie. It's a very good movie. I don't think it's as good as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So I kind of feel like it's respect to the director and the fact that he's won awards before. He's so incredibly loved. He came out of retirement to make this film. We want to recognize him. And also, as soon as it hit, TIFF's Twitter account is going crazy saying, hey, our opening night film just won Best Animated Film. So what was your take on The Boy and the Heron winning
Yeah,
that award?
so it's it's strange. I think you're right. There's definitely some TIFF hangover coming out of that festival. I think there's also this feels more like an award that's given to a director that people love and want to recognize more than the film itself. Because most people, and listen, I need to be clear, I'm not a Miyazaki fan. I'm not an anime fan. I am not familiar with most of his work. So I'm not the one that can rank these movies and tell you whether or not it's good or, you know, whatever. Like that's just not where I land. But for most people that I've talked to that are Miyazaki fans, they haven't even ranked this movie as like being the culmination of everything that he's done. Like it's actually pretty low on the list of films that they love, of people that genuinely love his work. So to me, it feels like, and you know, again, campaigns will typically make nominations, and I know we don't like to talk about it, but that's true. So his grandstanding of this is my final film, I'm never making a movie again, which is not true now. Like we know that that's not true, and he said he's not going to stop. But I do think that that had some of it. So you pair that with how well it did at TIFF, with his messaging of, hey, this is my final film, this is the culmination of my work, I'm leaving the studio. Yeah, naturally people are going to rank it higher on their ballots and give it the credit, you know, that they want to give it. I don't think that this movie should have won. I do think that Spider-Verse should have just won 2 years in a row, essentially, like with what it's done. I think that Across the Spider-Verse is just a better film. And sure, it feels very much like it's a part of it feels very much like a middle movie. I get that. Like it's its own story, but at the same time, it's a continuation of its first one. And also it doesn't have a legit conclusion because we're waiting for the third one. And I understand like kind of the Lord of the Rings type of thing, but it is a better film than The Boy and the Heron. It just is. Just across the board, visually, narratively, just the way everything is made. Like it's just a better film. So this was very surprising for me. This was a big miss. I did not see The Boy and the Heron actually taking it over. I know that people were championing for it, but I really thought that that was just like a Twitter thing, and I didn't think it was actually going to come to fruition. And then it did, and I was like, oh shit, okay. And it's kind of like you kind of just want Miyazaki to retire after that. Like he didn't even show up for the award, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's weird. Like, you listen, we've seen these different award shows where it's like so and so can't accept, we're accepting on their behalf, but not at the Oscars. No, that's weird.
No, and we had like two or three people that did it in the same night, which is very strange.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, hang on. Going to the comments here. Matt says Billie Eilish has more Oscars than Al Pacino. Yes. Yeah, because of course Al Pacino won for Scent of a Woman, and Billie Eilish won for Barbie tonight, and previously won for, I believe it was No Time to Die.
Yep.
So I don't really have a lot. I mean, he's absolutely correct.
No, he is.
I can't really say a lot about Billie Eilish. I mean, the Ken song was catchy.
It was great, but it should have been Dua Lipa. I'm gonna die on that hill. And the fact that they did the instrumental to like open the show and they kept going back to Dance the Night Away, I was like, why are you trying to hurt me? Like, this is the best song that you didn't nominate. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know that next year Diane Warren will be back again with another nomination. I'm just getting that in my ear now. We have confirmed Diane Warren. We don't even know what the movie is, but she'll be back with another nomination.
I literally tweeted, I tweeted Death, Taxes, and Diane Warren for Best Original Song.
Yeah, 100%. Here's the thing. I want to talk about Al Pacino. I love Al Pacino. He is in. I'm looking at a picture of him on my wall here because my favorite movie is Heat, and I've got a poster of Heat hanging on my wall here in my office. Here is the thing. It was a little odd. Like he comes out, and I'm not trying to like, you know, be mean to Pacino, but I like okay. And once again, your nominees are, read out the list. Here it is. And it's like, oh, okay, here it is. You know, it's like, was he on like time restrictions? Were they paying him by the second? Like it was such a weird presentation.
It really was.
They did that with the song category as well with Ariana short. No, Ariana
Ariana
Venti,
Grande.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
That's it. The Grande. Yeah. And
Ariana
her
Venti.
and Cynthia Erivo. They just like again, everyone. I don't know what kind of catering they have backstage that
Yeah.
everybody's in a rush to get to, but that was like weird. So I would have liked to have seen or maybe have Pacino present with somebody. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
maybe he's been in movies with I'm pretty sure he was like he starred with wasn't he in something with Jodie Foster? Or am I
Sure.
dreaming? You know,
Yeah.
so like have him present with somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
Or look,
let him read it. They can do the list of nominees. But
you have the magical opportunity of making Robert De Niro and Al Pacino present the award for Best Picture. Like they're
now,
both in the room, they're both here. Like that's a magical moment on screen. Like,
yeah,
how are we wasting this? Like,
yeah. Now I know that they have before when and around. I think a couple of times. One was around the time that they were filming Heat, and then there was another time. And I can appreciate why they wouldn't want De Niro up there just because Killers of the Flower Moon was nominated for Best Picture, so it'd be a little odd. It's like, oh,
yeah,
here you go, Nolan. But still, have him present with somebody.
Yeah,
don't leave Al alone, is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure he doesn't drive on his own. Don't let him go up and present an award on his own.
And it's such yeah, that's true.
He's not driving by himself.
No, he's not. Not
you
at
think
all.
He's on Hollywood Boulevard.
And this presentation proved that he's not doing a lot of things on his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree, and it does kind of suck the energy out of the room. Like this is the award, right?
This is the big.
This is the big one. So like, you clearly have access.
Yeah.
Again, this is.
He didn't mess it up like Warren Beatty did, though.
Yeah, that's true. But
so
like,
give him that.
I feel like we should, and this is just me kind of like redoing the Oscars, right? Like, if you're going to have the older generations present, let them present for earlier awards. Because by the time we get to the end of the night, and I'm not like, I know it's past the bedtime, early bird special, whatever, but like, I'm just saying, like, by the time we get to the end of the night, we need some energy. Like we need some vibrance. We need some liveliness to really cap it off. And you know, if you're not gonna nominate Dua Lipa to like light up the stage and like just do sad songs by Billie Eilish, like okay, fine, but like we've been here for 3.5, 4 hours. Like let's go. Like we're here. We're like at the end. So to me, it just feels strange to like let these like legacy actors present the very last award at the very end, and like they can barely read the envelope, and it's like, why are we doing this? Can we let's get somebody that doesn't need somebody else to help them do this? Like,
oh my God. Okay, we got some comments here. Let's check them out.
All right.
Steve Hennessy, who I want you to know, Steve, I appreciate you because you say great things about Academy Award winning The Zone of Interest. Steve is coming in with us with Wes Anderson finally wins and doesn't show up.
So good.
Right? The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Brilliant short film. The live action short film is such an underrated category. Night of Fortune is so funny and poignant. Yeah, Steve, you're talking, and I think you share this as well, Derek. We're fans of short film. I've said, it's the only difference is length. You still have to pay attention to casting, to script, to sound, to every single aspect. It's just on a shorter production. And one of the great things that I love about short film, that I've really appreciated, not just here locally with some of the filmmakers in Ottawa, but also when you look at some of the films that come out of Sundance, which is primarily an independent film festival. A lot of filmmakers will make a short film, they'll bring it out, they'll test it, they'll get a response to it, they'll get their feedback, and then they'll take back that same concept and then they'll make it into a feature. We saw that with movies like Palm Trees and Power Lines, which was my favorite film from a couple of years ago.
So good.
Fantastic film, came from a short film. Another movie that I loved at Sundance, a movie called Pleasure, came from a short film and then made into a feature. And there's so many more like that. So I love short films. And yeah, it is bizarre that what were you doing, Wes? like why couldn't you have shown up? It's just so. Listen, respectfully, I don't know what's going on in his life. There could be some personal things going on, but it does seem weird because how often do you hear the Oscar goes to ... They're not here. We'll accept it on their behalf.
Yeah.
That's
And
just,
it's like,
that's just
dude,
odd.
this is your one. I get it. Like, they've missed the mark on most of the films that you should be nominated for.
Yeah.
But like, you knocked it out of the park with your shorts. Like,
Yeah.
just show up, man. Like, this is your chance. It was weird. I do love I do love Matt's comment of, we need Jennifer Lawrence energy for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at you jumping ahead.
Yes.
Look at you
Yes,
jumping
we
ahead.
do.
Hang on. I'm
Yes, we do.
trying to give respect to all of the wonderful people that are here. And now you're jumping. Okay, fine. Here it is. We need Jennifer Lawrence energy for Best Picture.
He's just echoing my sentiment. That's all.
Jennifer Lawrence presenting with Al Pacino. Maybe that's what we need.
Thank you. Yes,
there was a viral clip. There was a viral clip of several years ago of her meeting Jack Nicholson, and she was thrilled. I'm sure she'd be thrilled to meet Al Pacino. Get that energy on stage. Hooah! All right.
And I'm sure Al Pacino would want to date Jennifer Lawrence. So we'd have weird energy, and it'd be great.
Yeah.
It would work.
I'm going to go to Mark's comment, which, as we see these, which was actually after, before Matt's. So, Mark, I want you to know that I clearly like you more than Derek does. So, thank you for being here. Robert Downey Jr. is the only SNL cast member to win an Oscar. How crazy is that?
That's wild.
When you think about all the people that have gone through SNL and Robert Downey Jr., who most people would not associate with SNL, wins. Yeah. So kudos to him. Whiplash, Bottle Rocket, both came from short films. I'm not familiar with Bottle Rocket, but yeah, I remember seeing the short film to Whiplash. Of course, the great Damien Chazelle film that Are You Rushing or Dragging? That went on to win. It's
honestly, it's the only good Damien Chazelle film that exists. So
hang on a second. You mean to tell me you didn't like the overhyped, I am absolutely doing everything I possibly can to win an Academy Award, Babylon?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me right now? The movie that was so grotesquely saying, nominate me. You didn't like that?
Yeah. I'll do you one better. La La Land sucks.
Yeah.
Damien Chazelle has Whiplash, and then nothing else as far as I'm concerned. Bottle Rocket, absolutely. It was a short film before it became Wes Anderson's first directorial feature. And I would actually argue that short Wes Anderson is the best Wes Anderson. I think I said that on our pre-show, and I stand by that statement. And I say that as somebody who genuinely loves Wes Anderson films, but I think his short, sweet adaptation style just matches the aesthetic and everything that he tries to do. And I think those shorts are the best work he's done in a very long time. And I say that as somebody who genuinely loved Asteroid City and was shocked that it missed everything, like just shut out completely. It's not even my favorite Wes Anderson film, but I do feel like his short work is incredible. And I'm very excited that he won for short film, even though he wasn't there to accept the award. Because yes, Jimmy Kimmel's right. He was probably building a diorama of something.
Yeah, I did think Asteroid City was a beautifully shot film.
Yes,
and
yes, it was.
Speaking of beautifully shot films, best cinematography, no big surprise, went to Oppenheimer. Best score went to Oppenheimer. Matt raised the point of John Williams, or potentially a posthumous award for Robbie Robertson, and we kind of nixade that one, just in the sense of they don't really tend to do that. I mean, if they're not going to give an award for Chadwick Boseman after he passes, I don't think they're going to give it to Robbie
Robertson. It's wild to think that that the Heath Ledger award was like an anomaly. Like that's not something that they're normally going to do. Because you would think that if somebody gives an incredible performance as their last performance, then let's just honor them. Like that's the right thing to do. And it really does feel like they actually didn't even want to do, like Heath Ledger made it on accident. It's kind of what it feels like. Because if you're not going to give it to Chadwick Boseman, we're not going to give it to anybody else. Like, sorry, like if your last work is honored, like you're probably not going to win the award.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. Matt is on the scene here. Anderson begins filming a movie in Germany tomorrow, probably on set in a couple of hours with a time difference. New York Times. Okay. So
Oh, okay. All
Matt
right.
and his contacts at the New York Times have set us straight. So now we know. It was a
Thank you,
little
Matt.
weird. We need Matt to bring us these things. So thank you, Matt, for that.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it. If yeah, we trust in Matt. I will tell you, it's, you know, I'm happy that, because you triggered this when we were talking about Heath Ledger. When I'm happy to see Nolan win. My prediction, you know, our prediction was that he was going to win, not necessarily like in the heart prediction, but it was going that way. So not really a big surprise. There's a part of me though that the same way that some of these awards are awarded based on like career and based on writing, the fact that so and so doesn't have an Academy Award, you know. And a big reason, a friend was asking me earlier, you know, how come there was 10 nominees? And I'm like, well, it kind of goes back to that year with The Dark Knight, right?
Mhm.
Where, you know,
Yeah.
where it wasn't nominated. And even when they had the list of 5 nominees, it should have been. It is unfortunate sometimes when you're looking, you think that there are people who have Academy Awards for things, but they should have had them for other things, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah. We actually, I agree with you, and we see that a lot. So to bring it up, like you had talked about, like Denzel winning for Training Day, like he didn't win for Training Day. He won for Malcolm X, and all the times that they had like skipped him over for movies he should have won for. Leonardo DiCaprio is the same way. He won an Oscar for The Revenant because they didn't give it to him for Wolf of Wall Street. Like that's why he won. And I think if you're going to talk about this year, I think that award, the Legacy Award, I think that goes to Robert Downey Jr.
Really?
Yeah. I not saying that his performance was bad, but my heart pick, I would have picked any one of the other people that were nominated, and I would have added some other ones over Robert Downey Jr. I think he's good, but he's not like transcendent. He's not like going against type. Like he's very much Robert Downey Jr. as Leo Strauss or whatever. And it feels very much like, hey, this is a guy that knows how to campaign, that is beloved by the Academy, that is beloved by his branch, that is now nominated for an award that we can give him because we haven't given him for anything else. And he has a legacy of award-winning performances that have
100%.
always been overlooked. Like we've just always disregarded him. And so this felt like an opportunity to honor him for, 30 plus years of great cinema. Like that's what this felt, at least to me. So
yeah, for me, my Legacy Award, and I like that we've just created our own category on the spot here, but I'm rolling with it. For me, my Legacy Award for this year would absolutely be Christopher Nolan. I hear and accept everything that you say about Robert Downey Jr. I'm going to Nolan because when you think, guy started off with, like first major movie, I think he had started with The Following, but Memento, people absolutely love that. I said it the other day, but I don't take for granted that everybody watched our pre-show. Revolutionized the superhero genre with the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah,
people always come to me and they're like, Marvel or DC. And I said, one of the biggest things that DC did that annoyed me was they took all of his hard work and pretty much dumped it in the trash and said, okay, we're just going to go on from here and make a collection of movies that do or don't really make any sense. Then from there, in no particular order, we're looking at movies like Inception. We're looking at movies like Interstellar, Dunkirk. You're sitting in the theater and you're like, all of a sudden you hear that first gunshot and you're jumping like somebody just came up behind you and said, boo, Tenet wasn't great. Okay. And I have my criticisms with Tenet, specifically the sound. And it wasn't until it came out on digital and when I was able to hit subtitles and be like, oh, that's what they were saying. And then I was even more annoyed when I found out that they did that he did that on purpose. But at the same token, that movie came out in a pandemic and it was released in theaters. So it was like something that we got to go and check out. Also, the fact that, and I've said it before and I've become a broken record, there are 2 directors that actually use IMAX technology, and he's one of them. Yeah. So not only did he revolutionize the superhero genre, he's helped revolutionize an actual format and how movies are being watched. It wasn't lost on me that during their acceptance speech, they're thanking people from the IMAX from IMAX. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. He came into TIFF a couple years ago for a showing of Dunkirk. It wasn't in competition, and it was basically just for him to come and hype up IMAX technology. So I think he's done a lot for the industry, and he's been overlooked. It didn't make sense for so many of his films that he wasn't getting the Academy Award for Best Director. Whereas here's the thing: his last several films, when you see the trailer for it, again, none of the advertising was starring Cillian Murphy, starring Emily Blunt, starring Robert Downey Jr. You see them in the trailer. It was from Christopher Nolan. His name is a brand. All right. His name is a brand, and it carries weight. And he absolutely deserves to have an Oscar on his mantle. It's happened now. Again, don't think it's for the right film, but glad that he has the Oscar nonetheless.
Yeah, I would agree with you too there. I do think that Nolan is a little pretentious in his filmmaking, and not all of his films work for me. Mm-hmm. However, I do agree that this is a man who has revolutionized the film industry in the way that you frame things, in the way that you direct movies. And you're absolutely correct. There are two people that understand how to make movies on the largest screen possible and make that worth your weight in gold. And it's Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. So he has to be honored for those things, especially because he is such a champion of theater. And that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And so as much as I don't particularly think that he should have won, I knew that he was going to. And it is a legacy award. This 100%. Is an award for a man who is championing film in the way that you think of film. This is what he's doing. And he deserves an award for that. He really does.
Yeah. And I think it's very important to point out that there are so many different films that come out that have the IMAX tag to it that aren't IMAX, and it's a ripoff, but not with these two directors. All right, Tim Martin is coming in, and one of the things you have to appreciate is he must have seen the whole Steve Hennessy trifecta of messages, because he's hitting us with three. Okay, his first one says Robert Downey Jr. legacy for sure, absolutely. Him winning was amazing, though, because after Marvel, he actually believed he lost his edge. So happy for Robert. Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this the other day. I mean, if your only exposure to Robert Downey Jr. is the Marvel movies and his portrayal as Iron Man, like you need to go and check out his work. I mean, you
need to watch more movies.
You need to, I like how I'm like the nice, and you're like, just rip off the Band-Aid and just sit.
Yeah, you need to watch more movies. Yeah,
100% do.
Yeah.
We've got Nolan should have thanked Warner Brother for snubbing him in 2020 and paving his way for Universal. 100%. Like, it's not working. How about this? So we've got this whole Barbenheimer thing. They come out the same day, of course. Barbie is with Warner Brothers, which just happens to be the old studio that Nolan did the majority, if not all, of his films with. Then the next thing you know, he goes to Universal. They might not have won from the box office standpoint, but they definitely won from the Oscar standpoint. So yeah, that's a mic drop.
Yeah.
Experience it in IMAX or film for IMAX. Always pay attention. Yeah, absolutely. Tim knows what he's talking about. Knows what he's talking about.
Absolutely. Pay attention.
Yeah, because
words matter, and that
words
makes
matter.
A huge difference.
Yeah, words matter. Movie advertisers. I remember seeing Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and great movie, enjoyed it. Bad timing for it because we had Barbenheimer release like the week and a half later.
Yeah.
But all the advertising, you kept hearing the same thing. See it in the biggest screen possible. See it in the biggest screen possible. Why? It wasn't filmed in IMAX.
Nope.
You know?
I am very choosy as which, like, unless I know that it was filmed specifically for IMAX, I'm not seeing it in IMAX. Like, I'll maybe see it in Dolby. Like, that's about as far as I'll go. But yeah, I'm not, unless you made it with IMAX cameras, and there's only like we said, there's like 3 directors that actually know how to do that. Unless they're making a movie, like, I'm not going to see it. Like, that's a waste of money to go see it.
100%
experienced in IMAX. Like, that's not the same thing.
It's funny. I always talk about Nolan and Villeneuve, and people will be like, "Well, what about James Cameron?" I'm like, "Yeah, but the guy makes a movie like once every like 20 years." So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
we're good. We're good,
He's got to milk that Pocahontas franchise for as long
right?
as he possibly can.
So, so overall, overall a decent awards night. I mean, we've got one of us who had 8 out of 9 of the major awards. One of us that had 21, I think you said, out of 23.
20 out of 23.
20 out of 23. Okay. So overall, it went the way that we thought it would go.
Yeah.
And now we kind of like catch our breath and we get to start the whole process again. I mean, we've got, I guess, the first major film festival that I think is going to have an impact on the awards is going to be Cannes. I mean, we've already had Sundance, but I don't necessarily know that anything coming out of Sundance this year is
Yeah,
strong enough.
I don't think
But
I don't think this is a year where Sundance is going to carry any film
no,
over to the end of the year. I think this run, mainly just from the chatter that I've heard from people that were there, there has not been a coda. There has not been a past lives.
no.
Like nobody championed these movies. So I think Cannes will be the first big indicator of like what we can expect for 2024.
Yeah. Let me take a look here. There was a movie. I'm just looking up the title of it really quickly. Jesse Eisenberg just
Oh,
directed. Yeah, A Real Pain. That's the
A
name of
Real
the
Pain.
movie.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film. Is it gonna, you never know about these things. It's difficult. Coming into this year, I can't say that there was like this one movie that I absolutely can't wait to see. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm looking forward to the new Beverly Hills Cop movie, but that's like from, a sentimental value. I don't necessarily know. But that being said, sometimes you're not in the theater until you see something that really sparks, your interest, and then you know that it's made an impact on you. I had no idea January of 2023 that I would roll into a theater in Toronto in September of that year and see The Zone of Interest, and it would blow my mind. So you never
Right.
know. But
Right.
so that movie, I don't know what it is, but when we figure out those movies, we'll be talking about them. But
Yeah.
again, as far as this year's award season as it concludes with the Academy Awards, I think we saw some great movies being recognized. And while it's unfortunate that some movies went home with nothing, and at the end of the day, these are movies that you have the opportunity to go and see and check out. We talked about this the other day. Out of the 10 Best Picture nominees, we think nine of them we strongly recommend. Sorry, Maestro. But again,
I said
yeah,
it was going zero. I
yeah,
said it. I
yeah.
said it.
We're in a time right now where people are constantly they're constantly scrolling, they're looking for something to watch, and this might be a question that we have trouble answering in like May or June. I don't know, but as far as right now is concerned, if you haven't seen all of the Academy Best Picture nominees, start there. If you're not the type of person who's bothered by subtitles, the international films are fantastic.
So good. So
Um,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have a friend who absolutely loved Perfect Days, or I should be more accurately, the part that he stayed awake for, because I think there might be some narcolepsy there. I mean, there are some really great films
Yeah.
out there, and I'll again repeat myself. I think it's been a long time since we've seen a Best Picture list that's been this strong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. In some final thoughts, I would agree with you. I think that for the first time in a long time, most of the well, sure, we can go round and round about who should have won and whatever.
yeah,
Um, Most of this year, the best films got their recognition.
yeah,
Yes, there were some that personally I think probably should have been on the list, but for the most part, like the best films of 2023 showed up on a list somewhere. Like
hmm,
they were recognized somewhere, whether that was international or just whatever. But like there were some fantastic films that got nominated, and there were very few films this year where people were like, "That's a movie that exists." Like, and that's
hmm,
typical. Like most award shows, unless you're like you and I, where we
yeah,
just live for this. Like this is what we do. Most people are just kind of like they look at the 10 best picture winners and they've only heard of two,
yeah,
right? Like that's very, very typical of Academy Awards. And this year, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that, like, even if they haven't seen all of them, they know at least 7 out of 10, 6 out of
mm,
10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or whatever. Like the general public had more access to some of the best films of the year. And that's huge. Like that's such a big win for the award show. That's such a big win for cinema. And honestly, I think almost all 10 of the Best Picture nominees are available somewhere on streaming, somewhere on a service. They're all available for you to watch. And the shorts are available in most places, which just doesn't ever happen. Like you can watch most of these movies that typically appear on Academy Awards, and you're just like, I didn't know that movie existed. Like you can actually access a lot of these films. And that's a huge year for cinema. I'm so excited that more people get to see these movies. So that's what I hope going forward, that more people, that's always been my phrase, is let people see your movies. Like that's what I live for. I want people to be able to watch these movies. I don't want to just be the critic that gets to watch them at festivals and then I don't get to tell anybody about them because no one's ever going to see them. Like, I hate that. It sucks. Like, it's the worst part of the job. Like, I want people to see these movies. And I think this year was a good year for that. So I hope we carry that forward into this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at our conversation earlier, we're talking about Emma Stone winning, and then we're saying, well, we liked Emma, we appreciated her performance. We would have liked Lily Gladstone. We're having the conversation. Here's the thing. Go see those movies. Go check out Poor Things. Check out Killers of the Flower Moon. Check out Anatomy of a Fall. Like, these are great performances and these are great films. And again, I think there's one of the things is, yes, we're coming out of these strikes, but it did not slow down the level of fantastic films that came out in 2023. Okay, a couple of comments here. Steve Hennessy, thanks guys, love your reviews. Appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Matt, does the Academy hate Marty? Gangs of New York, Irishman, and Killers all went 0 for 10. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know that they hate him, because he does have an Academy Award for Best Director. But it's interesting. Every year there seems to be that film that's nominated for a ton of awards that just doesn't get anything.
And it's usually directed by Martin Scorsese. Let's just
Spielberg's
that's not wrong, but Spielberg's had it too.
Spielberg's had that too. I mean, there's this little movie called The Color Purple, I remember, that didn't do so well.
They are two of the most nominated directors that don't win.
Yeah, and yes, I know he won for Departed.
Departed. And to your point, Nat, that The Departed feels like a legacy win. Like, that was like, hey,
right?
We screwed you. We screwed you on Goodfellas. We screwed you on, whatever. But like, we're gonna give it to you for The Departed.
Legacy win is a thing.
It is a real thing. But yeah, Martin Scorsese has such a weird relationship with the Academy, and that's a whole different show. That deserves its own piece, because it's a lot to dissect there, Matt. But it's a good highlight.
Yeah, it's like we have to nominate you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we love you.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim coming in with great year for film indeed. Hopefully even this year will be good, even after last year's strike and delays. It's great how attainable things are now. People can catch up easier. Still go to the theater because it matters. Absolutely, it does.
Yes,
and listen, I love the fact that we can, we have so many different ways that we can see film, but I will always I will always default to the cinema. That'll always be my my pick.
Yep.
Okay. Again, we said we're going to keep this short. For us, this was kind of short. It's not like a 2-hour mark. There's a lot to talk about. Derek, I want to thank you again.
We're basically the Oscars, so we'll just go forever.
Yeah, exactly. I want to thank you for Derek. First, I'll start with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on this. I love chatting with you. I will tell you this. As I say, let's wrap it up. I want to tell you one quick story. So, being a huge Manchester City fan, I get together with the Manchester City Supporters Club of Ottawa, and we get together and we watch games, and we're sitting there before the game starts, and a gentleman to my left taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, I want you to know I saw the zone of interest. Now, he didn't love it as much as I do, but he still saw it and he appreciated it, and we had a nice conversation about it. And here's the thing. I love these conversations, which, I love having conversations about film. We don't always have to agree on things, but I love the conversation. I love the fact that somebody's going to introduce me to a film that I might not have, paid attention to or given, a chance to, and they'll give me their perspective on it, and vice versa. So I absolutely love having that. And one of the great things about all these films being accessible now is, for the longest time, there was only a few people that I could talk to about the Zone of Interest who saw it at the different festivals, and it was like people I could count on one hand. I love the fact that people, not just specific to that movie, are seeing these films now and being able to talk about it. People are able to talk about American Fiction. People are able to talk about Anatomy of a Fall. To your point, people are able to go and access some of these short films and check it out. I know a bunch of them are playing on Netflix. So I love just having those conversations and kind of, picking people's brains and, exploring film. So that's why I'm so appreciative to you for joining me on these chats, because I love chatting about this stuff with you.
Yeah. Well, I look, and thank you, not to drag on too long, but I echo your sentiment. I think that one of the things that I love the most, and I know there's a big misconception about critics that, like, we all hate movies and we just go out and like hate watch movies. And I promise you, like, that is not the case. I know that there's a place on YouTube for those people and they exist, but most critics are not like that. Like, I can't express how much cinema consumes our lives, and you can't do that unless you genuinely love movies. Like, you literally can't do that unless you love cinema. And more than anything, I love talking about movies. I just love it. Like, it's one of my greatest joys. And if you didn't like something that I loved, I honestly want to hear about it. Like, let's talk. Tell me about what you didn't like. Like, let's have this conversation, because that's what I love. And so, more people being able to see movies, that is so wonderful for me, because I don't have to keep these things in my pocket to be like, oh, you should watch my favorite movie of the year. You'll never be able to see it because I saw it on a screener and it never had an actual release, and it got released in 2 theaters in LA for 1 week so it could qualify for the Oscars. No one's ever heard of it, and it's not on any streaming service, and sorry, you missed your window. Like, I hate that. I don't want that. Like, I want you to be able to experience what I experience. And if you hate it, great, let's talk. Like, I just want you to be able to see the movie. And that's what I love about doing things like this, where we don't have to agree, but like, we just get to talk about movies, and that's so much fun. I love that. So yeah, this is so much fun, and I hope we get to keep doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't want to be disrespectful to these comments. Tim coming in with Madam Web, just kidding. And
don't give that movie an excuse. We were all, with her mom before she died, researching spiders. That greatest John Mulaney line, by the way, is so good. I'll never not enjoy Madam Web slander. Oh, Magazine Dreams.
Tear, broken heart. Really quickly, for those who don't know, Magazine Dreams was a movie that came out at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival. Was a huge hit. It looked like the movie that was really going to propel Jonathan Majors' career. Of course, he was already starring in Ant-Man. He was starring in Creed 3, but out of the 3 films, Magazine Dreams was the one. It was a story about an aspiring bodybuilder. Think Whiplash, but with bodybuilding. Instead of just wanting to be the best drummer, he wanted to be the best bodybuilder, transformed his physique for it. You saw a bit of that in Creed 3. And then, of course, everything with Jonathan Majors in his personal life went down. So so that movie's done. But
it's sad, because look, the movie isn't great. I didn't care for the movie, but
the performance.
This is a Jonathan Majors award-worthy performance. Like, this man would have been on every Oscar list if this movie got released. And it's shelved forever.
Maybe they'll reshoot it with Coleman Domingo. Maybe they will reshoot it with Coleman Domingo. I'm here for it. And Lily Gladstone can play. Anyway, all right. Okay, well, listen. We want to thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to watch this, whether you're watching it live or you're watching the playback of it. We're going to continue to find excuses to get together with each other and
Yeah.
chat. Completely different from film, but we also both like UFC, so we talked about doing a chat pre UFC 300. So
Let's go, baby.
we're gonna do
UFC
that as well.
299 was legit. I'm ready for 300. Let's do it.
So we're gonna, like, again, we're just guys who just find like really awesome things to talk about. And if you have suggestions of things that we should talk about, then throw it in the comments and let us know. We might take it on.
Yep.
But until then, Derek, I wish you a good night, my friend. I thank everyone again for taking the time to join us and to watch this. We enjoy talking about film, if you haven't noticed, and we appreciate you all popping into the comments and popping in to check this out. So until next time, we wish you all a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.